Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into something absolutely fascinating. We recently got our hands on this raw directory dump. It's a massive text file, literally just called migrated_directory.txt. Now, on the surface, you're probably thinking it just looks like a boring list of computer folders and files. But once you start reading the file names and seeing how the whole thing is organized, well, it transforms into a digital archaeological dig. Because unlike most of us who just have that one cluttered folder on our desktop named Stuff, you know the one, what we're actually looking at here is the inner workings of a complex, incredibly fascinating life management machine known as Exocore 2026. It's essentially someone's digital brain, perfectly mapped out in folders.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right at the very top of this directory structure, inside the very first folder, we find this exact file name, Exocore 2026, the AI modernization blueprint.png. And honestly, this right here is the master key to understanding our entire discovery. It tells us right out of the gate that this isn't just some random collection of documents or a messy digital desktop. No way. This is a deliberate, meticulously planned modernization blueprint aimed directly at the year 2026, and it's heavily reliant on artificial intelligence.
So, based strictly on the directory structure we're analyzing today, how do we actually define what we're looking at? Well, Exocore 2026 is a multifaceted personal and digital infrastructure system. It's not just a folder, right? It's a highly structured, fully automated digital headquarters that beautifully blends AI workflows, hard-coded software automations, and, maybe surprisingly, intensely personal human self-development. Think of it like a cybernetic system where the digital organization serves one main purpose: upgrading the actual human operating it.
To really grasp how this whole system functions, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the blueprint of Exocore 2026. Second, we'll check out the core services engine. Third is the Obsidian knowledge base. Fourth, content and AI research. And finally, upgrading the human element.
All right, so starting with part 1, the blueprint of Exocore 2026, let's see how this is planned out.
Inside folder 01, which is aptly labeled Architecture and Planning, we find the strategic command center where the overarching vision of this system lives. Just look at these specific files listed inside. We've got masteractionplan.txt and mastertimetable2026.txt. I mean, this shows us just how meticulously plotted and forward-looking this entire operation really is. The user isn't just reacting to the day, they are actively executing a master action plan mapped all the way out to a 2026 timeline. We also see files like architecture update 16th May.png, which proves to us this isn't some static, forgotten concept. It's a living, breathing architecture that gets continually updated and refined.
Moving right along to part 2, the core services engine. This is essentially the automation hub of the system.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer depth of the programming environment. It is absolutely staggering. Down inside the dynamic scheduler folder, we actually found a full Node.js application. Local logic files, things like task listener and formatter, are wired directly into heavy-duty web tools installed via node dependencies. We're talking Axios for web requests and Asyncit for asynchronous control. So it's literally running these background scripts to automate a daily agenda. Pretty wild, right? And then, buried right in that exact same dynamic scheduler folder is this truly fascinating specific file. It's called Termux Remote Control Phone. Now, if you didn't know, Termux is an Android terminal emulator. So this heavily hints at something incredible. The system's backend isn't just contained on a desktop PC. It's actually using remote control protocols to tie a mobile phone directly into the core automation engine, so the Exocore literally reaches right into the user's pocket.
Okay, part 3, the Obsidian knowledge base. Let's take a look inside the memory center.
Inside this Obsidian memory center, the text files reveal how overarching app dev projects connect directly to the user's daily workflows. We're seeing files like completed tasks, milestones, and checkpoints.txt, workflowparent.txt, and even highly specific research like YouTube_on_analysis of Seisai channel.txt. Essentially, this folder acts as the connective tissue for the whole setup. It ensures that those automated tasks firing off from the engine room are perfectly aligned with the broader research and milestones stored here in the brain.
Which brings us to part 4, content and AI research. This is the output pipeline.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual production system. Looking at folders 04 and 05, we see a totally brilliant content production pipeline implied by the folder nesting. We start with the inputs, right?
AI chats with tools like Gemini and Notebook LM, brainstorming ideas. This then feeds directly into folder 04, where we find subfolders specifically dedicated to scripts, images, and tutorials. Finally, all this raw material gets categorized into output folders for YouTube channels, specifically divided into shorts, long-form videos, and a dedicated Say-Sci channel. It is literally an end-to-end assembly line for digital content, heavily augmented by AI.
But guys, here's where it gets truly mind-bending. Deep inside the Notebook LM AI logs and the generated video folders, we found these exact file names: decoding_exocore26.mp4 and exocore2026_systemsreview.mp4. Talk about an incredible meta layer. The exocore system is literally feeding its own directory structures and blueprints into AI tools to generate summaries, reports, and even video reviews of itself. It is a system actively engaged in self-analysis.
Finally, we arrive at Part 5, upgrading the human element. This is where the digital meets the physical world. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole point of the system. We can contrast the rigid machine code of the engine room we saw earlier, the Node.js modules and the dynamic schedulers, with these highly relatable, completely analog human pursuits. It becomes crystal clear that the real purpose of automating the digital world so aggressively is to free up space and provide structure for the physical one. Just look at the precise mix of skills being tracked in this final folder. We've got fitness and well-being, we have music folders for keyboard playing and playing guitar, there's even a dedicated space for upcycling projects, literally taking physical trash and turning it into something new. And right alongside those organic hobbies, we see technical skills like using Node.js. This absolutely grounds the hyper-tech directory tree we just spent time exploring in genuine, holistic human self-improvement.
The exocore 2026 directory shows us exactly what happens when someone treats their life, their goals, and their hobbies with the architectural rigor of a massive software enterprise. It's fascinating, maybe a little intimidating, but honestly, it's incredibly inspiring. So it leaves us with this provocative question to end on today. If someone downloaded your mental hard drive right now, how would it be organized? Would it look like a highly functional exocore blueprint or just a cluttered desktop? Definitely something to think about as you go about your day. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.